3 months had passed since the aliens destroyed the surface of New Terra. Jake Morrison crouched in the main cave that served as the Resistance headquarters, studying maps of the planet's underground system by the light of battery-powered lamps. The cave network was bigger than anyone had imagined. Pete Rodriguez had spent weeks exploring with small teams, finding connections that stretched across 3 continents. The caves were formed by ancient volcanic activity, creating a maze of tunnels that even the aliens couldn't map from orbit. "Commander, Amy found something," said Pete as he entered the cave. The mining engineer looked tired but excited. "You need to hear this." Jake followed Pete through a narrow tunnel to a larger chamber where Amy Thompson had set up a makeshift electronics workshop. She was bent over a piece of alien equipment, small tools scattered around her. "What do you have, Thompson?" Amy looked up, her face dirty but pleased. "I managed to salvage this from one of their patrol units. It's some kind of communication device, but it's also a scanner." She pointed to strange symbols on a small screen. "The good news is that their technology isn't magic. It follows rules we can understand." Dr. Lisa Carter emerged from behind a pile of equipment. She had been working with Amy to study anything alien they could find. "The interesting part is what the scanner shows about our caves. Look at this." Lisa activated the alien device. The screen showed a map of the area above them, but the underground sections appeared as blank spaces. "Their scanners can't penetrate the volcanic rock formations that make up our cave system. The mineral content interferes with their sensors." Jake felt hope for the first time in months. "So, they can't find us down here?" "Not easily. They know we're underground somewhere, but they can't pinpoint our locations. That's why their ground patrols keep walking past cave entrances without finding us." Pete spread out his hand-drawn maps of the cave system. "We've found 3 major tunnel networks that connect most of our survivor groups. We can move people and supplies without going to the surface." Jake studied the maps. "How many people do we have in the underground?" "About 11,000 in the cave systems, another 2,000 scattered in small groups across the planet. We lost contact with some of the outer settlements, but others made it to caves or mines." Amy held up another piece of alien equipment. "I also figured out how to monitor their communications. They're not as smart as they think they are. Most of their transmissions aren't even encrypted." "What are they saying?" Lisa translated from notes she had been keeping. "They call us tunnel rats and primitive scavengers. Their commander is angry that they haven't finished clearing the planet yet. Apparently they expected this to take a few days, not months." Jake smiled grimly. "Good. What else?" "They're having supply problems. Their equipment keeps malfunctioning in our environment. Something about the volcanic minerals affecting their power systems." This gave Jake an idea. "Pete, you know the volcanic areas better than anyone. Could we use that against them?" Pete nodded slowly. "The old thermal vents are all over the planet. If their equipment doesn't work well near volcanic activity, we could lead them into those areas." Amy looked up from her work. "Actually, I might be able to do better than that. I've been studying their power systems. They use some kind of quantum field stabilizer. If we could disrupt that field..." "Can you build something to do that?" "Maybe. I'd need more of their equipment to work with, and some materials from the old electronics shops in the ruins." Jake made a decision. "Then we're going to get you what you need. It's time to start hitting back." The first resistance raid happened 2 weeks later. Jake led a team of 12 volunteers to the ruins of the main settlement, where alien patrols searched through the debris daily. They waited in a drainage tunnel until a small alien patrol passed overhead. Amy had made small explosive devices using mining equipment and alien power cells. The plan was simple: attack fast, grab equipment, and disappear back into the tunnels. Before reinforcements arrived, the attack lasted less than 3 minutes. Amy's explosives disabled the aliens' protective suits, and the resistance fighters quickly overwhelmed the patrol. They grabbed weapons, communication devices, and scanning equipment before retreating to the tunnels. "Did anyone get hurt?" Jake asked as they reached the safety of the caves. Rodriguez got hit by some kind of energy blast, but it just burned his arm, Amy reported. Their weapons are powerful, but they're not used to close combat. Lisa examined the captured equipment. This is exactly what we need. Amy, you should be able to build your disruption device with these components. Over the next month, the Resistance launched 15 more raids. They learned that the aliens were excellent soldiers in organized battles, but they struggled with the chaos of guerrilla warfare. The aliens expected their enemies to fight in predictable ways, using conventional tactics. Humans didn't fight conventionally. Jake's teams would emerge from caves, attack alien patrols, and vanish before support could arrive. They sabotaged alien equipment, destroyed supply convoys, and rescued human survivors who had been captured. The aliens responded by increasing their patrols and setting up fortified positions around important areas. But this only made them more predictable. Pete's tunnel teams could move under any alien position and attack from multiple directions simultaneously. Amy completed her first quantum disruptor using salvaged alien technology and human engineering. The device was crude but effective. When activated near alien equipment, it caused power systems to fail and protective fields to collapse. "How many of these can you make?" Jake asked. "With the materials we've captured, maybe 20. But each one only works once before burning out. Then we'll make them count." The major breakthrough came when Lisa intercepted a priority communication from the alien commander. She rushed to find Jake in the main planning chamber. "Commander, you need to hear this. I translated a message from their fleet commander to the ground forces." Jake stopped planning the next raid and listened. "The aliens aren't just trying to eliminate our colony. This planet was supposed to be cleared in preparation for a larger operation. They're planning to attack other human colonies and eventually Earth itself." The cave fell silent as the implications sank in. Jake felt anger building in his chest. "They're using us as target practice." Pete looked up from his maps. "There's more." The message mentioned that their main fleet is gathering for something called Operation Final Cleansing. That doesn't sound good. Amy was working on another disruptor device. "If they attack Earth, our people won't be ready. Earth's military doesn't know what these aliens can do." Jake realized that their fight on New Terra wasn't just about survival anymore. They were humanity's only source of information about alien capabilities. Everything they learned here could save Earth. "We need to get a message to Earth," Jake decided. "They need to know what's coming." Lisa shook her head. "The aliens are jamming all long-range communications. Even if we could send a message, it would take years to reach Earth through normal space." "What about their communication system? Could we use their own equipment to send a message?" Amy looked thoughtful. "Theoretically, yes. But we'd need access to one of their main communication arrays. Those are heavily guarded and located in their primary base." Pete studied his maps of the area around the alien base. "It's built on the site of our old spaceport. I know every tunnel and drainage system in that area." Jake felt a plan forming. "If we could get close enough to their communication array, could you send a message to Earth?" "If I had enough time and the right equipment, yes. But the base is defended by hundreds of aliens and automated weapons." What if they were distracted by simultaneous attacks across the planet? Lisa understood immediately. "A coordinated strike using all our resistance cells. Hit them everywhere at once, so they can't focus on defending the communication array." Jake looked around at his team. 3 months ago, they had been colonists trying to build a new life on an alien world. Now they were planning a military operation that could determine humanity's future. "Pete, I need you to map every approach to that base. Amy, figure out exactly what you'll need to send a message to Earth. Lisa, coordinate with all our resistance cells. We're going to hit these aliens with everything we have." As his team dispersed to begin planning, Jake remained in the cave staring at the maps. The aliens had made a mistake when they left human survivors. They thought they were dealing with primitive creatures who would be easy to eliminate. They were about to learn that humans were anything but primitive when their backs were against the wall. Admiral Susan Blake stood in the command center of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, staring at a message that had arrived through the Deep Space Monitoring Network. The transmission was weak and broken, but the content was clear enough to make her blood run cold. "Ma'am, are you sure this is real?" asked Captain Steve Parker, her chief of staff. "It sounds like science fiction." Susan read the message again. It had taken 8 months to reach Earth through a series of relay stations, bouncing from one monitoring post to another across hundreds of light years. The sender was identified as Dr. Lisa Carter from New Terra Colony. Alien attack. Colony. Destroyed. Survivors in hiding. Enemy fleet preparing larger operation. Target Earth. Recommend immediate military preparation. Technology superior. Weakness. Quantum field dependency. More details follow. Carter, New Terra Resistance. Captain, get me President Mitchell on the secure line. Then contact every fleet, commander, and tell them to report to Earth immediately. Ma'am, the politicians aren't going to believe this without more proof. Susan looked at the star charts, showing human colonies scattered across dozens of systems. Then we better hope we get more proof before it's too late. 2 hours later, Susan sat in the emergency meeting room with President John Mitchell and the military leadership. The room was tense as she explained the situation. "Mr. President, if this message is accurate, we're facing a threat unlike anything in human history. An alien species with superior technology has already destroyed one of our colonies and is preparing to attack others." President Mitchell looked skeptical. "Admiral, with all due respect, this could be a hoax. One damaged transmission isn't enough evidence to justify a military mobilization." "Sir, we've lost contact with New Terra 3 months ago. At the time, we assumed it was a communication failure. Now we know better." General Tony Russo, head of Earth's Military Engineering Corps, studied the technical data that had been included with the message. "These quantum field readings are beyond our current understanding. If someone faked this, they have access to technology we've never seen." Or, said Defense Secretary Nina Lopez, "aliens really did attack New Terra, and we're next on their list." President Mitchell made the decision that would save humanity. "Admiral Blake, you have authorization to recall our fleet and begin emergency preparations, but I want more evidence before we announce this to the public." Susan immediately sent orders to every human ship in space. The scattered patrol vessels, exploration ships, and cargo transports began converging on Earth's solar system. At the same time, her staff worked frantically to decode more information from the broken transmissions arriving from New Terra. Captain Steve Parker coordinated the fleet recall while Captain Nina Lopez organized Earth's defense industries. Within weeks, shipyards that had been building civilian vessels switched to military production. "Admiral, we're getting more transmissions from the Resistance on New Terra," Parker reported. "Dr. Carter has been sending technical specifications for alien weapons and defense systems." Susan studied the new data. Their energy weapons are incredibly powerful, but they require massive amounts of energy. And look at this. Their ships depend on quantum communication for coordination. General Russo was already working on countermeasures. If we can disrupt their quantum communications, their coordination will collapse. I'm starting a crash program to build quantum jammers based on this intelligence. The breakthrough came 2 months later, when a complete transmission from New Terra arrived. Dr. Carter had managed to access an alien communication array and send detailed information about the enemy fleet composition and invasion plans. "Mr. President," Susan said during the emergency briefing, "we now know for certain that the alien fleet is real. According to the Resistance, over 200 enemy ships are gathering for an assault on Earth. They call it Operation Final Cleansing." President Mitchell's face went pale. "How long do we have?" "Based on their movement patterns, they could reach our solar system in 6 months. And our defenses?" Susan had been dreading this question. "We have 45 combat-capable ships. The aliens have 200, and each of their ships is significantly more powerful than ours." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth's fleet was outnumbered more than 4-1 by an enemy with superior technology. However, Susan continued, we do have some advantages. The Resistance has discovered that alien technology fails in certain environmental conditions. We can use that against them. General Russo presented his preliminary plans. We've identified 3 key weaknesses in their systems. First, their quantum communication can be jammed. Second, their power systems are vulnerable to electromagnetic pulse attacks. Third, they have difficulty adapting to rapid tactical changes. Captain Parker had been studying human military history. Admiral, what if we don't try to fight them the way they expect? Their tactics seem designed for conventional fleet battles. What if we use guerrilla warfare in space? Susan considered this. Hit and run attacks, using asteroids and debris fields for cover. Force them to fight in small groups instead of one large formation. Exactly. The Resistance on New Terra proved that humans can outfight aliens when we force them into our kind of battle. President Mitchell authorized the construction of quantum jamming stations throughout the solar system. The massive transmitters would be hidden in asteroids and on the far sides of moons, ready to disrupt alien communications when the attack came. Meanwhile, Earth's shipyards worked around the clock to retrofit human vessels with the countermeasures developed from alien technology. Every ship received quantum jammers, electromagnetic pulse weapons, and improved armor designed to withstand alien energy weapons. Captain Nina Lopez supervised the training of new pilots using combat simulations based on Resistance intelligence. These aliens are used to fighting enemies who stay in formation and follow predictable tactics. We're going to show them how humans really fight. The most ambitious project was General Russo's Quantum Disruption Network. The system consisted of 12 massive transmitter stations positioned throughout the solar system. When activated simultaneously, they would create an interference field that could disrupt alien quantum communications across light years. If this works, Russo explained to the military leadership, their entire command structure will collapse. Ships won't be able to coordinate with each other or receive orders from their commanders. Susan oversaw the final preparations as Earth's recalled fleet completed its upgrades. She now commanded 45 ships carrying the best pilots and crews in human space. It wasn't enough to match the aliens in conventional combat, but it might be enough to win using human tactics. Admiral, Captain Parker reported, we're receiving another transmission from New Terra. The Resistance is planning a major operation to support our defense of Earth. Susan read the message from Commander Jake Morrison. The Resistance leader promised to launch planet-wide attacks against alien forces when Earth's battle began, drawing away ships that might otherwise join the invasion fleet. Those brave people on New Terra are still fighting after all this time, Susan said with admiration. We can't let them down. The final preparation came when Dr. Carter sent the complete alien battle plans she had intercepted. Susan studied the enemy strategy and realized that the aliens expected to win through overwhelming force and superior technology. They had no contingency plans for dealing with unconventional human tactics. Captain Parker, send this message to all ship commanders. We're not going to fight the aliens the way they want us to fight. We're going to fight them the human way. As Earth's defenses reached completion, long-range sensors detected the approaching alien fleet. Admiral Zektar, the same commander who had destroyed New Terra, was leading 200 warships toward Earth's solar system. Susan stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Defiance, and watched the tactical display showing the massive alien formation. In a few days, humanity would face its greatest test. Admiral, Captain Parker said quietly, do you think we can win? Susan thought about the Resistance fighters still hiding in the caves of New Terra, about the colonists who had died in the first attack, and about the billions of people on Earth depending on her fleet. Captain, the aliens think they're fighting primitive humans with inferior technology. They're about to learn that technology doesn't win wars. People do. And humans don't give up. The stage was set for the battle that would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. Earth's outnumbered fleet prepared to face an invasion force that had never known defeat. But the aliens were about to discover that humans had been fighting. Impossible odds since the beginning of their history. The countdown to Earth's defense had begun. Admiral Susan Blake watched the alien fleet approach Earth's solar system through the main display of her flagship, the UES Defiance. 200 enemy warships moved in perfect formation, their black hulls seeming to absorb the light of distant stars. "Contact in 6 hours, Admiral," reported Captain Steve Parker from his position at the tactical station. "They're maintaining formation and heading straight for Earth." Susan studied the enemy approach pattern. Admiral Zektar was leading his fleet exactly as expected, a massive spearhead formation designed to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer firepower. It was the same strategy that had worked on New Terra and dozens of other worlds. "Captain Lopez, status on our fleet?" Captain Nina Lopez checked her displays. "All 45 ships are in position. Fighter squadrons are ready for launch. Quantum jamming stations are online and standing by." And General Russo's surprise? "The quantum disruption network is fully operational. All 12 transmitter stations report ready status." Susan activated the fleet communication channel. "This is Admiral Blake to all ships. Today we defend not just Earth, but the future of humanity. The enemy expects us to fight their way, but we're going to fight the human way. Remember your training, trust your instincts, and show these aliens what happens when they threaten our home." The alien fleet entered the outer solar system at precisely 14 hours. Admiral Zektar's massive flagship led the formation, surrounded by heavy cruisers and destroyers in a pattern that had brought victory to the alien empire for centuries. "Admiral, they're broadcasting a surrender demand," reported the communication officer. "Let me hear it." The cold, mechanical voice filled the bridge. "Primitive humans of the third planet, you will surrender all military vessels and prepare for immediate occupation. Resistance will result in the complete sterilization of your world." Susan picked up the communication microphone. "This is Admiral Susan Blake of the United Earth Defense Force. We reject your demands. Leave our system immediately or face the consequences." The alien response was swift. "Your resistance is noted. Prepare for annihilation." "All ships, execute Operation Swarm," Susan ordered. Instead of meeting the alien fleet in traditional formation, Earth's ships scattered in all directions. Captain Steve Parker led Destroyer Squadron Alpha toward the asteroid belt, while Captain Dan Kelly's fighter wings launched from hidden positions on the moons of Jupiter. Admiral Zektar's formation began to break apart as they tried to engage multiple small human groups simultaneously. The aliens were used to fighting enemies who stayed in predictable formations, making them easy targets for concentrated firepower. "Captain Parker is engaging the enemy vanguard," Lopez reported. "He's using the asteroid field for cover." On his destroyer USS Ranger, Captain Parker led his ships through the maze of space rocks surrounding Jupiter. The alien ships pursuing him were larger and more powerful, but they couldn't maneuver effectively in the dense asteroid field. "Fire electromagnetic pulse torpedoes," Parker ordered. "Target their lead cruiser. The human-designed EMP weapons, based on intelligence from New Terra's resistance, struck the alien cruiser's quantum stabilizers. The ship's power systems flickered and failed, leaving it drifting helplessly among the asteroids. "Direct hit! Enemy cruiser is dead in space," his weapons officer reported. "All ships, focus fire on disabled targets. Don't let them recover." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Dan Kelly led his fighter squadron in attacks against the alien formation's flanks. The small human fighters were too fast and agile for the aliens' heavy weapons to track effectively. "Gold Squadron Attack Pattern Delta, hit their communication arrays and get out," Kelly transmitted to his pilots. The fighters dove toward the alien ships, releasing their payloads before the enemy could respond. Small explosive charges designed to disrupt alien quantum communication systems detonated across multiple ships. Admiral Susan Blake watched the battle develop from the bridge of the Defiance. The aliens were powerful, but they were fighting the wrong kind of battle. Instead of one large engagement, they faced dozens of small fights across the solar system. "Admiral, General Russo is requesting permission to activate the Quantum Disruption Network," Parker reported. "Not yet. Let's draw more of their ships away from the main formation first." The battle continued for 3 hours as human ships led alien forces into prepared ambush zones. Earth's pilots used every trick they had learned from studying the Resistance. Reports from New Terra, Captain Nina Lopez commanded the carrier group hidden behind Saturn's rings. When a squadron of alien ships pursued Parker's destroyers into her area, she was ready. "Launch all fighters. Torpedo boats, prepare for attack run." 50 human fighters erupted from their hiding places among Saturn's moons. The aliens found themselves surrounded by fast-moving targets attacking from every direction simultaneously. "Their formation is collapsing," Lopez observed with satisfaction. "They can't coordinate responses to multiple threats." Admiral Zektar, commanding the alien fleet from his flagship, was experiencing something he had never encountered before. Human ships refused to fight in formations. They attacked individually, used terrain for cover, and disappeared before his forces could respond effectively. "All ships, reform defensive positions around the command vessel," he ordered through the quantum communication network. This was exactly what Admiral Blake had been waiting for. "General Russo, activate the quantum disruption network, full power, across A." The solar system, 12 massive transmitter stations came online simultaneously. The quantum disruption network created an interference field that propagated through space at the speed of light, reaching every alien ship within minutes. The effect was immediate and devastating. Alien vessels that had been moving in coordination suddenly found themselves unable to communicate with each other or receive orders from their commanders. "Admiral, their formation is breaking apart," Captain Parker reported from his position near Jupiter. "Individual ships are operating independently now," Susan smiled grimly. "All ships, commence final assault. Target isolated enemy vessels." Without coordination, the alien fleet became a collection of individual ships fighting separate battles. Human forces, trained to operate independently, maintained their advantage as alien ships struggled to adapt to the communication breakdown. Captain Steve Parker led his destroyers in attacks against stranded alien cruisers. "Target their power systems. If we can disable their quantum stabilizers, they're helpless." The human EMP weapons proved devastatingly effective against alien technology. Ship after ship lost power and drifted helplessly as their quantum-based systems failed. Lieutenant Dan Kelly's fighters pressed their attacks against the alien flagship. "All squadrons concentrate on the command ship. If we can take out their admiral, the rest will surrender." Admiral Zektar's flagship found itself under attack from multiple directions as human fighters and torpedo boats closed in. The massive alien vessel's weapons were designed for ship-to-ship combat, not for defending against swarms of small attackers. "Sir, our defensive systems are overwhelmed," reported Zektar's tactical officer. "The small human vessels are too numerous and too fast. Impossible. They are primitive creatures with inferior technology." "Admiral, we're receiving reports from across the fleet. Ships are losing power and communications. The humans have done something to our quantum network." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Zektar felt the cold touch of defeat. His technologically superior fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that refused to fight according to established rules of warfare. The final blow came when Captain Parker's destroyers broke through the alien defensive line and targeted Zektar's flagship directly. Electromagnetic pulse torpedoes struck the command ship's primary power systems, causing cascading failures throughout the vessel. "Admiral Blake to alien flagship," Susan transmitted. "Your fleet is defeated. Surrender now and we will spare your remaining ships." Admiral Zektar stared at his darkened command screens, unable to believe what had happened. In 6 hours of battle, the human fleet had destroyed or disabled 150 of his 200 ships. The survivors were scattered across the solar system, most of them powerless and drifting. This is Admiral Zektar to human fleet. We surrender. As the alien ships powered down their weapons, Admiral Blake allowed herself a moment of relief. Earth was safe, and humanity had proven that technological superiority meant nothing without tactical flexibility. Captain Parker, send a message to New Terra. Tell Commander Morrison and the Resistance that Earth is secure. Already sent, Admiral. I also included news of our victory. Susan looked at the tactical display showing the scattered remains of the alien invasion fleet. 45 human ships had defeated 200 alien vessels through superior tactics and the willingness to fight unconventionally. Captain Lopez, begin rescue operations for alien survivors. We're not conquerors. Yes, ma'am. Should we also begin interrogation of prisoners? Eventually. First, I want to know more about this empire they represent. If they sent 200 ships to destroy one human colony, how many more ships do they have? The celebration of Earth's victory was tempered by the realization that this might only be the beginning. Somewhere in the galaxy, an alien empire with thousands of ships was learning that their invasion force had been completely destroyed by the species they considered primitive. Admiral Susan Blake sent 6 months after the Battle of Earth. Dr. Lisa Carter stood in the newly constructed research facility on New Terra, studying data that would determine the future of human civilization. The Resistance had emerged from their caves to find the planet's surface scarred but not broken, and they had immediately begun rebuilding. Admiral Susan Blake visited New Terra to personally meet the Resistance leaders who had made Earth's victory possible. She found Commander Jake Morrison coordinating the reconstruction efforts with the same determination he had shown during the Underground War. Commander Morrison, Admiral Blake, Lisa called out as she entered the meeting room carrying a datapad. You need to see what we've learned from the captured alien prisoners. Jake looked up from the tactical plans he was reviewing with Admiral Blake. What did you find, Lisa? The invasion fleet we defeated at Earth wasn't their main force. It was barely a scouting expedition. Lisa activated a holographic display showing a star map. The Vorthak Empire controls 12 different alien species across 347 star systems. Their combined fleet consists of over 5,000 warships. Admiral Blake felt her stomach drop. 5,000 ships? We barely defeated 200. It gets worse. According to the prisoners, the Empire Council has declared humans a Class 5 threat after our victory. They're mobilizing everything they have for something called total species elimination. Jake studied the star map showing the vast scope of the alien empire. How long do we have? Based on their mobilization patterns, the main fleet will reach Earth's solar system in 18 months. Admiral Blake activated her communication device to contact Earth's military command. This is Blake. I need to speak with President Mitchell immediately. Priority Alpha emergency. While waiting for the connection, she turned to Lisa. Is there any way we can fight 5,000 ships? Our entire fleet is only 120 vessels, including the new ships we've built since the battle. Lisa hesitated before answering. Not in conventional combat, but I've been working on something that might level the playing field. Jake recognized the expression on Lisa's face. It was the same look she had worn when developing the electromagnetic pulse weapons that had saved New Terra. What kind of something? The aliens' greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. Their entire empire depends on quantum communication networks that connect every ship, base, and planet instantaneously. What if we could turn that network against them? Admiral Blake was intrigued. Explain. Lisa activated another display showing the technical specifications of alien quantum communication systems. I call it the Cascade Protocol. Instead of just jamming their communications, we introduce a recursive virus into their quantum network. The virus spreads through their communication links, causing system failures that propagate throughout their entire empire. A computer virus that travels faster than light, Jake said with understanding. But how do we get it into their network? That's the challenging part. We need to insert the virus at a central node in their communication system. According to the prisoners, there's a main relay station in the Alpha Centauri system that coordinates quantum communications for this entire region of the galaxy. Admiral Blake saw the implications immediately. A suicide mission. Even if we could reach Alpha Centauri, their defenses would be overwhelming. Not necessarily, Lisa continued. The virus only needs a few seconds to propagate once it's introduced to their network. If we could create a distraction large enough to draw their defenders away from the relay station, Jake was already thinking tactically. What kind of distraction would be big enough to pull ships away from a critical installation? Admiral Blake understood. An attack on Earth. If they think we're defenseless, they'll commit everything to the final assault. Exactly. We let them come to Earth with their main fleet while a small strike force infiltrates the Alpha Centauri system and plants the virus. Jake looked at the star maps showing the distances involved. This plan requires perfect timing. The strike team would have to plant the virus at exactly the right moment during the Earth battle. Admiral Blake was already calculating the logistics. It's incredibly risky. If the strike team fails, Earth faces 5,000 alien ships with no backup plan. And if we do nothing, Lisa pointed out, Earth faces 5,000 alien ships anyway, plus reinforcements from across their empire. The secure communication link to Earth finally connected, and President Mitchell's face appeared on the screen. Admiral Blake quickly explained the situation and the proposed plan. Admiral, are you telling me that our only hope of survival depends on a computer virus and perfect timing? Mr. President, conventional warfare won't work against those numbers. This is our best chance, possibly our only chance. President Mitchell was quiet for a long moment. What do you need? Permission to begin immediate preparation. We'll need our fastest ships for the strike mission and every available vessel for Earth's defense. You have it. Admiral, the fate of humanity is in your hands. Over the next 12 months, Earth's military worked frantically to prepare for humanity's final battle. General Tony Russo oversaw the construction of the most advanced human spacecraft ever built, the stealth ship Odyssey, designed specifically for the Alpha Centauri mission. Captain Steve Parker was chosen to command the strike mission. His experience in the Battle of Earth made him the ideal choice for the dangerous infiltration operation. The Odyssey would carry a hand-picked crew of 20 specialists, including Dr. Lisa Carter and her quantum virus. Meanwhile, Admiral Blake prepared Earth's defenses for the largest space battle in human history. Every ship in the human fleet was upgraded with the latest technology, and new orbital defense platforms were constructed around Earth and its colonies. Commander Jake Morrison returned to active military duty, taking command of the ground defense forces. If the alien fleet somehow broke through the space defenses, Earth's surface would become another resistance battleground. Jake, Admiral Blake said during one of their final planning meetings, if this goes wrong, you'll be fighting the same kind of underground war you fought on New Terra. Then we better make sure it doesn't go wrong. The alien invasion fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly 18 months after the first battle. Long-range sensors detected over 5,000 ships in a formation that stretched for millions of kilometers. Admiral Zektar, released from human custody as part of a prisoner exchange, led the massive fleet from a new flagship 3 times larger than his previous command ship. He had spent months studying human tactics and was determined not to underestimate his enemy again. Admiral Blake, Captain Parker transmitted from the Odyssey, already 3 days into its journey to Alpha Centauri, enemy fleet detected. We're proceeding to target as planned. Understood, Captain. Good luck. Susan watched the approaching alien armada from the bridge of her flagship, now named UES New Terra, in honor of the Resistance. Her fleet of 120 ships looked impossibly small against the massive enemy formation. All ships assume defensive positions, execute Operation Final Stand. This time, the human fleet didn't scatter. Instead, they formed a defensive line between Earth and the approaching aliens, making themselves an obvious target that the enemy couldn't ignore. Admiral Zektar saw the human formation and felt satisfaction. They're fighting conventionally, this time. Excellent. All ships prepare for frontal assault. We'll crush them with overwhelming force. As the two fleets closed for battle, Captain Parker's strike team reached the Alpha Centauri system. The quantum relay station was heavily defended, but most of the alien ships had been recalled to join the assault on Earth. Dr. Carter, how long? Do you need to upload the virus? Parker asked. 60 seconds once I access their main communication console. You'll have it. The Battle of Earth began with the largest energy weapon exchange in galactic history. Thousands of alien ships opened fire on the human defensive line, while Earth's fleet responded with everything they had. Ships exploded on both sides as the battle raged across space. Admiral Blake's strategy was simple. Hold the line as long as possible and make the aliens commit their entire fleet to the engagement. In the Alpha Centauri system, Captain Parker led his boarding team onto the alien relay station. The Odyssey's crew fought through automated defenses and alien guards to reach the central communication chamber. Carter, you're up, Parker said as his team secured the area. Lisa connected her quantum virus device to the alien communication console. Lines of code began flowing across her screen as the virus prepared to upload into the Empire's network. 30 seconds, she announced. At Earth, the human defensive line was crumbling under the massive alien assault. Admiral Blake had lost half her fleet, but the aliens had committed every ship to the battle as planned. All remaining ships, full assault. Make them think we're desperate. Lisa, time's up. We need to go, Parker urged. 10 more seconds. The virus is almost fully uploaded. Admiral Zektar is personally leading the final attack, reported Captain Lopez from her damaged cruiser. All alien ships are engaging. Carter now, Parker shouted as alien reinforcements approached the relay station. Lisa activated the final upload sequence. The quantum virus launched into the alien communication network, propagating instantly. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Meridian and watched the stars through the main screen. His ship had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this meeting point near the Kepler 442 system. Today would change everything for humanity. Captain, we're getting a signal, said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. She was the ship's best scientist and the only person on board who spoke 5 different alien languages. It's coming from the coordinates they gave us. Jake nodded and straightened his uniform. Behind him, his crew of 47 people worked at their stations. They all knew this was the most important day in human history. First contact with an alien race that called themselves the Zephyrian Empire. Put it on screen, Amy. The main display changed from stars to show a massive ship that looked like a giant metal snake. It was 3 times longer than the Meridian and covered in strange blue lights. Jake had never seen anything so big or frightening. Incoming transmission, Amy reported. They want to talk. Open the channel. The screen filled with the face of something that looked like a giant lizard wearing military clothes. Its eyes were yellow and cold. When it spoke, sharp teeth showed in its mouth. I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You will identify yourselves immediately. Jake stepped forward. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Meridian. We're here for the diplomatic meeting your people arranged. The aliens' eyes narrowed. Diplomatic meeting? You mistake our intentions, human. This is not a meeting between equals. This is a warning. Amy looked worried as she checked her translation equipment. Captain, something's wrong. Their tone doesn't match what we expected. Admiral Vextar continued speaking. Your species has spread to 3 star systems without permission from the Zephyrian Empire. This is unacceptable. You will abandon all colonies immediately and return to your home world. Wait a minute, Jake said, trying to stay calm. We were told you wanted to discuss trade agreements and peaceful relations. There will be no trade. There will be no peace. You have 30 of your days to comply with our demands. Remove all. Humans from New Denver, Aurora Station, and Port Liberty. Return to Earth and never leave your system again. Lieutenant Commander Sam Parker, Jake's second-in-command, stepped up beside him. Captain, this isn't what we planned for. Jake ignored him and focused on the alien. Admiral, we can't just abandon millions of people. Those colonies have been established for over 20 years. Families live there. Children were born there. That is not our concern, Vexitar replied. Your species expanded too quickly into space that belongs to the Empire. You will correct this mistake or face the consequences. Amy moved closer to Jake. Sir, I'd like to ask them some questions about their culture and government. Maybe if we understand them better, we can find a peaceful solution. Jake nodded. Go ahead, Dr. Rodriguez. Amy activated her recording equipment and spoke carefully. Admiral Vextar, we're very interested in learning about your people. How long has the Zephyrian Empire existed? What other species have you encountered? The alien's face showed anger. You dare to interrogate us? You collect intelligence about our military and political structure? This proves your hostile intentions. No, Amy said quickly. I'm a scientist. I study different cultures. I just want to understand your people better so we can work together. There will be no working together. You are spies gathering information for future attacks against the Empire. Jake felt the situation falling apart. Admiral, Dr. Rodriguez is not a spy. She's trying to build a bridge between our peoples. Your words are lies, Vextar hissed. The Empire has dealt with dozens of primitive species like yours. You all follow the same pattern. First, you claim to want peace. Then you ask questions about our defenses. Finally, you attack when you think you have learned enough. Sam Parker stepped forward. We've never attacked anyone. Humans have been peaceful in all our explorations. Silence, Vextar roared. We know your true nature. The Empire has conquered 47 worlds. We have seen this deception before. Jake realized they were dealing with a species that saw everything as a threat. Admiral, let me be very clear. Humanity wants peace. We're willing to discuss boundaries and territorial agreements. We don't want war. War? The alien laughed, a sound like breaking glass. There would be no war. There would only be your quick destruction if you refuse to obey. Amy checked her instruments again. Captain, their ship is powering up weapon systems. Jake's heart began racing. Admiral, Vextar, we came here unarmed as a sign of good faith. Please don't let this situation escalate. You will give us your answer now, the alien demanded. Will you abandon your colonies and return to Earth? Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for his decision. Behind them were millions of humans living on 3 worlds. Families who had built lives among the stars, children who had never seen Earth. I can't make that decision alone, Jake said. I need to contact my government. Unacceptable. You will decide now. Admiral, I don't have the authority to order the evacuation of entire worlds. That decision has to come from Earth. Vextar's eyes grew brighter. Then you refuse our generous offer. I'm not refusing anything. I'm asking for time to communicate with my leaders. Time you do not have. The alien's image disappeared from the screen. Amy quickly checked her instruments. Captain, they're targeting us with some kind of energy weapon. Shields up, emergency power to engines. Shields are at maximum, but I don't think they'll stop what they're charging up, reported Chief Engineer Tony Blake from his station. Sam Parker grabbed Jake's arm. We need to run, now. Agreed. Tony, get us out of here. Maximum speed. All ready. On it, Captain. The Meridian began turning away from the alien ship, but it was too late. A bright blue beam struck their shields and burned through them like they were made of paper. The ship shook violently as the energy hit the hull. Breach on Deck 3, someone shouted. Emergency teams to Deck 3, Sam ordered. Another beam hit them. This one stronger than the first. The lights on the bridge went out for several seconds before emergency power kicked in. "Sam, get everyone to the escape pods," Jake commanded. "What? About you?" "I'm staying to make sure everyone gets out." Amy grabbed her research data and started running toward the pod bay. Around her, crew members rushed through the corridors as alarms blared throughout the ship. A third energy beam struck the Meridian's engine section. The explosion threw everyone to the floor. When Jake got back up, he could see that half his ship was gone. "All hands abandon ship," he announced over the comm system. Sam helped injured crew members reach the escape pods while Jake checked every section of the ship. He found 12 people trapped in the damaged areas, but he couldn't save them. The fourth energy beam from the alien ship finished destroying the Meridian. Jake reached his escape pod just as the ship broke apart completely. Through the small window, he watched pieces of his vessel drift away into space. 47 crew members had started this mission. Only 35 pods launched successfully. As the Zephyrian ship moved away without checking for survivors, Jake activated his pod's emergency transmitter. The message would take weeks to reach Earth, but it would carry the most important information in human history. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and the neighbors were not friendly.